In the bottom right side of the map, we got ourselves a blue Terran player. It is, of course, a best of 9. There we go. He's fighting for Team Kaizi. He is Time. His opponents in the red, fighting for the Freak of Freaks. He's the Zerg. He is DRG. Alright, there we go, there we go. So anybody else was watching the inauguration up until this point? Quite a big moment, of course, today. Not just for StarCraft 2 Alpha X-Files casting, right? Also for, well, I suppose the entire world, in a sense, right? Turning the page into a new, hopefully, era. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, of course, how that goes. It's always a bit of a weird moment in time, of course, where we're like, oh, well, shit, is this stuff gonna get a lot different right now? Are things actually gonna transform? Usually they don't do it too much, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. We'll have to wait and see. Alright, talking about the game here. We got ourselves some DRG and Time. Time, a very, very aggressive player overall. I think DRG as well, although he has been able to kind of mitigate the amount of aggression that he does. Also likes to do a bit more of the macro game now and again, switch it up a little bit. Where, well, of course, Time also likes to do the macro game, but continuously be aggressive with the macro game. DRG more familiar with also being able to, as we can see, of course, already going for a bull first build here. But what I'm trying to say is, basically, he will be able to adjust to the current meta a little bit more so, and the current meta, well, quite often does involve those lurkers, does involve the Zerg to be a little bit more defensively than you would normally kind of expect from a player such as DRG, who made his fame, made his name through the use of those Zerglings and Banelings and Mutalisks, and kind of similar to style to as Time here, just play it quite aggressively. Now, the Zerglings, all of them are going to go back home again, which is an interesting take on the thing as well. We saw the SUV come in, so I guess he was assuming, alright, well, you're just going to keep your Reaper at home, most likely, and then the Zerglings won't be able to do anything. Not the case in this game so far. The Zerglings going back here, but the Reaper still committing across the map, and once again kind of showcasing that Time is, in fact, that very, very aggressive player. Is going to go for a third command center here as well behind this. Seeing that DRG is not going absolutely crazy on the overall Zerglings just quite yet. I guess he hasn't really gotten a good scout off just yet either. He doesn't even know about a third base. But, you know what, still going to go for that third base himself. So, quite a bit earlier than DRG did as well. Gotta hand it to him, right? That is some heavy commitment. That is some big balls you gotta have to make moves like that. But you know what? I think overall this time around should pay off. Another thing, of course, DRG opening up with that spawning pool is going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to stay on top of things here. Just with the mad macro style that seems to be going to be happening here between the two players that I formally introduced as quite aggressive, of course. Bound to prove me wrong here. Certain that we will get ourselves quite a bit of aggression later on here, though. It is inevitable with these two. Time already at the front door. Gonna try to get himself some creep to miss. Nothing more, nothing less. Needs to keep an eye out on whether or not something is coming for him, of course, in the dark. The fog of war can do horrendous things in those situations, of course. If you're not aware that there's a ton of roaches on your way, that could be the end of the game quite quickly for you. And the first game quite easily handed towards your opponents here. Let's see. Overlord Scout, what did he see exactly? Does see the tech lab on top of that barracks, producing something here, so he knows that it's going to be bio. Must feel good then that he already has that Baneling Nest on the way here. It has been the right choice. Now starting up the lair tech as well. Gonna start working most likely towards the Baneling speed and the Mutalisk attack. Or maybe a Hydralisk, right? We could still anticipate Hydralisk, as I've said before as well. I mean, DRG, one of the players that is not... It's not too uncommon for him to actually try and go with the meta now and again. Although very often within big series, we see him switch back and forth between like the current meta and just the kind of style that he prefers to play himself, right? Not sure if it's a benefit to him because he's kind of practicing two things at the same time, and of course that does mean that he's not perfecting either style as much as you could, I suppose, but nonetheless, sometimes it can cause your opponent to be caught off guard as well, and then that is going to be potentially going to give you the upper hand in a battle. Anyway, we do see the Spire coming up here, the double Evo chambers as well, together with this. Bound in sworn duty. A little bit of a Spire double Evo chamber inauguration here. They will take charge quite handsomely. As we have time now, finally going to start up some aggression of its own here. Not just poking around the edge of the creep. We'll go ahead and have two medevacs filled up with units. All Marines, by the way. Did that Zergling see that? I'm not entirely sure if it did. I don't think it did, actually. But anyway, this next Zergling, ooh, that will definitely see it. Yeah, there we go. It's going to be able to start preparing for that quite nicely. Just a bit of creep going down so far, and afterwards already having to pick up. We'll get the other creep tumor as well, though. A bit too quickly for DRG there to try and get that started up again. Alien's also going to partake here, as the multi-pronged harassment always a lot better than the singular point harassment. The Zerglings will attempt a bit of a coup on the other side of the map. The Zerglings that try to hold the main base here, getting dumpstered by those Marines. The Marines doing a great job so far. All the Zerglings getting blown up by two Widow Mines, and that is already going to be all she roads. Well, they roads. One of those two. Anyway, we do not have any Banelings remaining. Just Zerglings, a couple of Queens, and those Mutalisks. I don't think that's going to be enough here. DRG, maybe. A little bit too greedy with what he was going for. It took him too long to get the Baneling speed, and, well, that caused him to lose a lot of Zerglings in the main base. Afterwards, not left with any Banelings. And, yeah, that's one of the main rules for Zerg, of course. If you try to use your Banelings, you better be making more Banelings behind it, because there's not a moment in time in this EVT where you cannot find yourself without any Banelings actually by your side. That is a death sentence, and that's going to be quite the hassle then straight afterwards. No time like the present to go into game number 2, of course, straight after game number 1. What's happening with my hair today? I'm not entirely sure. You know what? We're just going to let it go up, let it go wild. Let's say that it's windy today, alright? Let's just pretend like it is. Alright, anyway. Game number 2. After quite a sudden end to game number 1 here, we're going to see game number 2. Once again, bottom right, the blue-sided Terran. I guess, you know, some sides of his characters are blue. Most of the sides, actually. I'm not sure if that's a good description, but we're rolling with it, alright? That is just the path we went down with, and committed now. The blue-sided on some sides, pretty much all the sides, Terran. He is the Chinese player Time. The best China has to offer, truly. In the top left side, that is the red Zerg player fighting for the Afrika Freaks. He is DRG. With some of his sides also being red, actually. Also having some colored sides, but those sides being red over here. Huh. Oh, I just realized you actually can't see the little drone thingamajig growing on the bottom side, actually, with this structure thing underneath. Interesting. Probably done by somebody that doesn't quite like bugs. Right? You should be able to see like a little... Wait a moment. Can't see it over there either. I don't know. Maybe I did something with the graphic settings. Oh, there he is. There's a little boy. It's always weird that it takes him so long to get this big, but then when you cancel instantaneously, it just becomes like a little tiny drone again. Unless if this is like a magnifying scope kind of thing, right? Because it is a big bulge. So maybe there is some magnification going on around here. Maybe it just looks bigger than it actually is. Alright, anyway. No spawning pool first this time around for DRG. It's just going to stick true to the, well, the macro opening here as well. SCV comes in, sees that that is the case. We'll now just move on backwards. He's starting up that Marine as well, as he already has the Reaper. Let's see what the response is for time this time around. As, you know, the question on my mind is he going to try to get himself that quick third command center again, or will he attempt to get more on the aggressive side this time around? Play a bit more careful, play a bit more safe. Guess he did. Okay, he did see the third base being constructed. So that's already a bit of an advantage here for DRG. Remember, previous game we saw, there was no such advantage here for DRG. DRG truly got himself a bit of a pickle, considering the third base timing was a lot earlier there full time. Maybe also not quite helping him out, of course, having that spawning pool first. Already kind of digging himself into a hole that is hard to escape from. Pit of despair where, as a Zerg player, you kind of gotta try and wiggle yourself out of, well, not being too greedy, right? How many times have we said, well, he died because he overdroned? It's always a delicate balance. DRG there, the previous game, perhaps dying because he didn't drone enough, right? That's the other parts. Suddenly you just don't have the money to actually be able to do much of anything. We got a Banshee build here on the way. Quite the cool thing indeed. No cloak with the Banshee though. Wondering if that's going to be just accompanying the Hellions. Maybe we're going to see an armory with this. That could be pretty cool. Sometimes you do see the combination of the Hellion and the Banshee. In that case, you don't necessarily need to have the cloak, right? They are just there as added in firepower to poke away at banelings and stuff like this as you get your Hellbats in a bit closer. Don't have to worry about spreading and stuff like that as much. I don't think that will be the case though, as we do see Stimpack already on the way. Still no armory either. It will just be Hellion harassments with a little flare of Banshee on the side. He's gonna grab himself a Raven also. Style that kind of fell to the wayside for a while now. After we saw Innovation kind of being the player that carried the banner for that type of play. Innovation, a player that just, you know, overall, it was in the making for a while, I suppose, right? But not really cleaning out the creep tumors as well as some other people would continuously, including him actually beforehand, right? Him getting that Raven also part of just being able to utilize all this energy you would normally use for scans as mule energy, right? You're just gonna get more money that way. That is the end point that you're after with that type of play. There we go, that's that Raven, and that should be the end of quite a couple of creep tumors here. Just got to be careful not to drive straight into those queens, of course. The queens being able to see that Raven is a big deal. Now they should be able to kind of rotate around to the bottom left side, but they're not quite doing it. I thought that was quite the clear rotation that Time was making here, but the queen's deciding to stay in front of the third base. Maybe more so afraid that the Hellions will just make a beeline for that drone, the drone colony here on that third base. So prioritizing defending that. It's doing a good job reclaiming the creep here also. Alright, continuously more tumors are going down, but DRG quick with the triggers, getting himself those creep tumors re-established here. Quite nice indeed. Right, third base for Time is now established as the fourth base for DRG is getting constructed. Kind of the way the ZVT matchup works, of course. Upgrade-wise, we're seeing a little bit of a slower response here for DRG getting himself the upgrades. It's more so prioritizing the Baneling Speed and the Mutalisk right now. Not even sure if we have 2 Evo Chambers. No, sorry, not just quite yet. There they are, though. Will come in a little bit later on. Does mean his army is going to be stronger at protecting his minerals and such in the earlier part of the game, but does mean that perhaps later on we're going to see Time have the advantage with those upgrades quite heavily. That can make or break games quite quickly as well. That Raven, a bit too far forwards. We'll still get 2 auto turrets down though, but will they be able to do much during the actual fight? It looks like the fight will not happen until those auto turrets are gone, or at least as good as gone. Baneling's got to be careful not to walk them onto the siege tanks. That's a pretty good cleanup right here, I would say, for DRG. Even being able to bring the Mutalisk this time around across the map and provide some harassment there as well, putting quite a bit of pressure on the reactor and just making things quite the hassle there for Time. Already quite the turnaround from what we saw the previous game, of course, where DRG was pressed to utilize those Mutalisk as a defensive tool. Even then, not quite having enough to hold that first initial wave of aggression from Time. So, quite the role reversal already here for DRG, who managed to get a lot more economy going in the earlier parts of this game. Now finding himself in a much better position to carry on this game forwards. Time bringing himself into the game as well, but the 4th base will try to partake in the longer parts of this one. Widow Mines and the Drilling Claws both getting constructed right now. A great way to deal with the army composition of DRG. DRG already upgrading into an infestation pit here. It would be nice to see that Hive Tech coming up along, of course, in not too far a future. With the army for Time starting to get quite efficient against that of DRG. Getting a couple of Ultralisk or maybe even Infestors could always benefit quite a bit. Maybe even Brute Lords to set off the Widow Mines would not be the worst either. It's not going to be that many siege tanks available anymore, so I don't think we should see that many Vipers coming out, but maybe that is still going to be the plan here for DRG if he doesn't quite see the Widow Mine change here in time, of course. Or from Time. 4th base established, 5th base on the way. All is well within the macro. Upgrades are going to kick in here for DRG as well. It's +1/+1, but as we see, +2/+2. Almost ready for Time, luckily for DRG. He's not waiting around for too long to start this 2-2 as well. So it's not going to be as bad as it could be, but still this could be quite the scary situation if we will have fights happen here anytime soon. That's a massive Widow Mine right there. If that does land, that is pretty darn juicy. A lot of grape juice right there, straight on the floor. So I'm staying quite passive for the game so far, I have to say. He moved out a single time with his siege tanks, but afterwards never quite trying to do anything here with his medevacs or multi-pronged harassment, stuff like this. On a small map like Submarine, maybe not the... Oh my god, that Widow Mine just killed 22 Banelings or something like that. No bloody way, that is... Whew. That's a crushing blow right here. DRG really needs to watch out with his units. Again, a great hit from another Widow Mine. There is another Widow Mine available. Does not quite get the shot off, but I mean, that is not a way you can actually play this game here as DRG. Looking at that units lost tab, that is not gonna go anywhere near what you want in this game here. If it keeps going like that. Doing a bit better now. Not taking massive crippling blows to the face, just quite yet anymore. Does keep Time away from the creep, does keep Time away from ramping up that aggression for the time being. Good poking and then just kind of retreating straight afterwards for DRG. So we'll commit once again. Zerglings now finally on the same page as the Widow Mines are. Gonna only send in a couple of units, but maybe that was still a little bit too many. Alright, only 8 kills, I suppose, on that Widow Mine. Acceptable, but there were 3 Widow Mines, or 3 Banelings as well involved within that engagement. DRG here, really what he wants is just buy time for those Ultralisks, right? As soon as those Ultralisks come out, it's going to have a much easier time to engage this army. Ultralisks creating space for the AoE damage of those Widow Mines. Nice way to tank the brute force. The problem for those Ultralisks, though, I mean, already time here. Reading the game like a book. Making Marauders 3 at a time. Starting up the Liberator production quite heavily as well. So I am envisioning here that time is going to be quite capable of dealing with these Ultralisks for the time being. And DRG may find himself in a bit of trouble if he's not too careful. If he keeps trading inefficiently and stuff like this, then that could definitely become the death sentence, pretty much. Just running into a couple of Widow Mines a bit too quickly in the start of the game. And suddenly you're not able to actually deal with the forces that keep pushing you. You start trading less and less efficiently because, well, you just don't have as much as you should do. Very steamrolly game, StarCraft 2. Now, that allowed time to get to the counter of Ultralisk pretty much before the Ultralisk were even out. We don't have any type of ghost tech just quite yet. So that is still a different thing that could be in the making here. It's a great Baneling run by. Be able to get quite a couple of those SCVs. I think that was about 10 of them. Oh, the Mutalisk also going to be partaking here a little bit. Need to watch out for the Thor. Oh, that's a nasty bit of Widow Mineage. Circling Banelings coming in for a big attack, but the Terran as well coming in for the great assault here. Gotta be careful. Time's army looking a little bit scarier here, I have to say, as it's already pressing its luck and its advantage onto the third base, spreading off even more units right now, trying to ensure that he has enough stuff at home to make it impossible for DRG to keep pressing forward as he is doing with a smaller amount of units that time is doing. It's going to start picking up right here. Mutalisk on the bit of the goose chase right now. Going to try and target down all the Marines one at a time. It's happening quite nicely for him. I mean, he has pretty reasonable upgrades for those Mutalisk, of course. Those Medifacts, they just boosted. They do no longer have the boost available. The Mutalisk with a nice bit of micro here should be able to, there we go, pick off most, if not all of these Medifacts here. It will be all of them. There we are. That is a big deal, as we do need, of course, Liberators still on the map here against those Ultralisk. Oh, that's a massive Widow Mine shot right there. Although, I was talking about the Liberators. Guys, we already have Ghost as well right now, so it's no longer crucial. No longer are we just looking at the... no longer are we looking at the Liberators as the main threat against those Ultralisk. The Ghost here as well should be able to do quite handsomely in these types of situations. The Overseers maybe a bit too quickly moving in front of everything else. And now we can't clean up any type of Widow Mines anymore, which is quite a bit of a shame. Well, DRG is still finding damage. Does get another connection onto that command center, and great shots right there onto those, onto a lot of Widow Mines overall. What did they just say? Oh, replay. I'm not even sure. I think it was because of the pass there that we had. Suddenly, time is like, do you want to restart from replay because we just had that fight? DRG's like, just keep it going. Just keep it going. A sign of confidence. That's always good. A lot of scanning going down, trying to figure out where the next attack needs to happen. Probably that 12 o'clock looking rather tasty at the moment. And of course the bottom left side here, that 8 o'clock also a potential target. Maybe even try your hand at targeting both of them, right? Sending a bit of your units to the top, a couple of them to the bottom. The mobility of Terran could prevail there. Use the Widow Mines and the Thors as a way of retreat, securing your back passage towards the Terran base again. DRG going to be the person that looks to be getting A bit more on uppity. Oh, that Widowmine again. A massive connection. The ghost shots absolutely murder everything there as well. That is more than DRG can handle. That is for sure. Just absolutely ruining that that bit of momentum there that he could have potentially picked up on. That Widowmine shot just... oh, God. Oh, that absolutely killed him. Again, I mean, if this game is going to go into time's favor, it is... oh, my God. If we need more proof, it is all going to be about those Widowmines. And DRG not being able to deal with them as well as he needs to. I know it's difficult to deal with Widowmines. I have been there myself, but this is just absolute carnage. Let's take a look. Yeah, that is... oh, that is not a good sight to see. 122 Banelings died. That is Banelings that got shot down. And there's no Banelings there that actually managed to get the connections going, if I'm not mistaken, so... I do believe they still show up on the resources lost tab, though, so that is still there, but... the willing Banelings blowing themselves up are not represented in the 122 number there. Which means we've lost a lot more than that. And that is what's causing this massive divide. More than double the gas loss there for DRG. Now, that is manageable, but only for a certain amount of time. If you allow time to get too many bases, even a single base difference may just barely not be enough. In a situation like this, the Mutalisk are finding a bit of prime real estate here, but perhaps they... oh, no. They are stuck as they can get here. Oh, okay, just barely squeezing on through on the bottom side of here. I did not think that was going to end pretty anymore. Does manage the grand escape. Here come those very, very decisive bases. These are the ones that need to be cancelled, right? This is one of the more important locations right now. DRG, if he does manage to get a fight going there before it is a planetary fortress, that would be a massive boon to him. That Widowmine right here. Let's see how many kills. 10 Zerglings just in the blink of an eye. Gonna go down here. There's not that many Widowmines remaining. 2 more get a good bit of shooting happening, but DRG just does not have enough to push himself in here. The Ghosts are doing too much work against those Ultralisk and make it hardly feel playable here for DRG, who's going to try to find another location. Maybe denying the bottom right side, or sorry, the 6 o'clock. It's really, bottom right side would be the main base, of course, but well, it's close enough. Maybe that is going to give him a second opportunity here, but the likelihood of that does not seem to be that high right now. They have been on a similar amount of bases for a while, and DRG definitely the player that needed to establish a base a lot sooner in the middle here than Time. And Time taking full advantage now of that positive win ratio in the resources tab. Units lost tab there. Look at that, still 10k difference in minerals, and starting to near the triple mark on efficiency of the gas counts right now. The Ghosts are just not being able to be dealt with at all, and GG is called. DRG losing a second game here. Oof. Now, to be fair, that was on a very, very Terran favorite map overall. Forgot that was happening. Very favorite Terran map, and could be a reason to, you know, try something else on that one. So you gotta commend DRG there for trying to do the macro game on a heavily favored Terran map. The 2 bases in the middle make it very difficult for Zerg to actually establish a base advantage, which is what you need, especially when you're going Ling Bane Mutalisk, right? If he was going Lurkers and, you know, more so towards that stationary type of Zerg army, maybe that would have been a different story, right? Then you could potentially say we're going to stay on a similar amount of bases, I'll trade pretty efficiently. You'll trade pretty efficiently. And then let's just see who controls this army the best. But, well, not in those situations. Not when you're doing Ling Bane Hydralisk, of course. Then you have to just have more income, more bases. And try to utilize that mobility of yours to shoot down any attempted new expansions of your opponents, or just get around on the other side of the map and take out some of the older ones. As long as you ensure you have another base on top of the one that your opponent has. And you got that going for yourself. Bottom left side, the blue Terran player. Fighting for Kaisi Gaming, he is Time. His opponent in the red, he is an African freak. African TV, a freak, as they call them. That is not me insulting him, that is his team name. He is Dongregu. The Africa Freaks. Alright, once again, going for the hatchery first. I think it's a little bit more doable, the Lingbane Mutalisk composition on this map. There is some airspace here on the right. There's a reasonable bit of airspace here on the bottom right side as well as on the left. Right, it's not much difference as is to Submarine, but maybe it's going to work out a bit better. But as well, I'm anticipating DRG here, perhaps to try and make a bit of a jump into the Lurker play as well. I mean, that is a style that he is also somewhat comfortable with. It's not his preferred playstyle, right? If he can get away with the Lingbane Mutalisk, that is what he will play. But if there's no options left, if there are no other choices, right? He'll back us up against the wall, then this could be your best bet. He's starting to get there, of course. I mean, to be fair, it is a best of 9, but allowing your opponent to run away with a 3-point lead, that could be just too much for anybody. Being able to tie it back up, almost, right? With a 2-to-1, suddenly it's a 1-point difference instead of a 3-point difference. It looks a lot more playable. It's good for your mental state overall. Time on the other side again here, gonna try his hand at a bit of greed himself, already acquiring a third base. Let's see if we get another bit of Raven play. Didn't manage to do too much, I'd have to say, the Raven previous game, which is a shame, right? It is definitely a shame. Here and there, I mean, it definitely did reduce the amount of scans that needed to be utilized, but overall, did it get rid of most of the creep? Did it delay the creep a ton? Did it delay it enough? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, in the end, he did win, so that should be enough of proof on its own. But, I mean, I'm not sure if that was the reason why he won, you know? I don't think it contributed as much as those Widowmine connections did, because that was just ridiculous. Widowmine hits, also actually, another reason why you should have to, well, you could consider going towards the Lurker tech instead. Lurker Viper, and then just try to yoink any type of siege tank play, of course, towards yourself again. Another benchy play will be coming out of our blue Terran. That Overlord will go down. I'm sure that it was informed about all the dangers and potential threats by, you know, flying into the Terran base. Maybe he just, you know, he's an adventurous fella that didn't quite understand the ramifications of its actions. Who knows? Single Banshee towards the third. Let's see, there is a Spore Crawler already available. We don't have the Cloak again here, so time a player that doesn't see that as a necessity. Which is nice, right? It doesn't, I don't think the Cloak really provides all that much added in bonus to the situation. Since regardless whether the Banshee is cloaked or not, you're gonna be running into the spore crawlers here, most likely anyway. It's just a common thing that Zergs have to make, right? Not just for potential Banshees or something like that, but also the Battlecruiser play. Widowmines with an armory. Medevacs. Banshees, right? Liberators. There's a lot of stuff that can come at you, and just making sure that you don't take lethal damage in the early parts with those spore crawlers. Usually quite worth it. Sometimes people skip the middle base though, to be fair. The base that's least likely to be attacked. Also, the easiest to reinforce with queens. So with that idea in mind, the least likely to need any help there from a spore crawler. Quite a few Zerglings were made. Actually, more and more Zerglings are being constructed still. Only 62 workers. We could see an attempted Baneling bust here from DRG already on that third base himself. As the Hellions, they are all across the map. Marines and a siege tank are gonna try to settle the score there. Re-establish some sort of a peaceful place for the Terran. And DRG still making a lot of Zerglings right now. How many are we on? 65. 65 Zerglings. Oh, with some good micro from the Hellions. That shouldn't be able to do too much, but if it does get a good surround, that could be quite the opposite, of course. Could mean the end of time here. The end of time. Sounds very, very ominous that way, doesn't it? Ooh, finding the siege tanks here, already taking a couple of shots, gonna decide to try and take the opportunity to just roll on in here. The Baneling's not quite getting the connections, but the Zerglings on their own so far proving to be enough, especially without those Hellions there. More Marines also joining in. We need to see some transfuse going down. There we go. The Hellions, they are about to be surrounded here. Reasonable amount of them actually getting picked off for the time being. I think time may have pressed his luck a bit too much. Well, there is another siege tank to make some more room for him to micro back and forth from. Let's see if that is going to be enough. And if that is going to cause DRG to actually lose another game here. I don't think it will. The Queen's tanking most of the firepower of that siege tank. Utilizing the shrubbery to hide the Zerglings and the Banelings for as long as possible. There we go. That is the end of the Hellbeds. And once again, time being pushed backwards. Already having a fourth base here, though, does not seem like that is the end of things just quite yet. Still a fairly reasonable position. Fifth base for DRG, also, once again, on the way. And there they are. There's the Hydralisk then. Kind of anticipating that, but you know, you never know for sure. I could be here like and say like, aha, yes, see, I knew this would happen, guys. But, you know, it's just makes a little bit of sense, but with DRG, you never quite know, right? You never quite know. With most players, actually. There's something that he does, though, and here we are. Intercepting another bit of Terran aggression. More siege tanks being produced still. So it looks like Time is aware as well of the lack of Mutalisk here. I assume he's also anticipating the Hydralisk. Did he already scan the Hydralisk den or something like that? Yes, he did. That is why he's still making siege tanks right now. Even already setting up Liberator production also. Pretty darn cool to see. Another base being made. Guy already pointed that out, actually. DRG here. Just playing it defensively, right? Does not have to go for the counter-aggression since with the Mutalisk, the Zergling Baneling army. This time around, he can just try and play defensively. Similar to the Ultralisk, but, right, trying to acquire the Ultralisk attack. This time around, though, it's going to be bit of a more difficult army composition to deal with here for time. It's also a bit more difficult for DRG to get to that kind of army composition as well, since he will require both Vipers and, well, Hydras, and then the Transformer into the Lurkers, with a ton of upgrades involved also. Alright, DRG setting up either a really big flank. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's gonna come in from the side here, not too much from the top. Are some Banelings gonna get themselves involved from that area, but maybe a little bit too soon with pulling the trigger here, I would say, for DRG. He didn't quite have the numbers, or maybe he did have the numbers, but Time's still having a wonderful location to pull back towards, as DRG was trying to get us around, and again, there we are, a quick GG just like that. A tap out, and well, got ourselves 3 games in a row going into Time's favor. Not a great moment here for DRG, who is hanging on by, well, starting to hang on by a threat. There's 2 threats remaining. There's 2 threats remaining. This is the AX files. So AX files are always from older, previously played tournaments. Usually it is still from Alpha X, though, to be fair. There we go. X files. That's how you see. That's how I name them when, you know, they are that exact thing. Anyway, regardless. X exactly. The Alpha X files. Alright, nice. The top right side, we got ourselves a blue Terran player fighting for KZ Gaming. He found himself 3 victories in a row already. Will he acquire a 4th and put himself up on match points immediately? That is going to be a rough one. Anyway, he is Time. Chinese Terran fighting against the Korean Zerg of the olden age, the old guard. Kind of letting the ball drop a little bit here. Perhaps he's already down 3 points. Not a lot of wiggle room remains. He is from the Afrika Freaks, DRG. Alright. Little barracks being built. No spawning pool first again. Seems like that was a one-time thing. Just a one-off. I have to wonder though. Maybe it's starting to be the plan of DRG. Putting Time in a very safe feeling overall. Alright, making him feel nice and secure. Letting him get overconfident, and then suddenly taking 5 games in a row? Who knows? Who knows? We'll assume that is the strategy, of course, if he loses this game as well. Just to kind of let him save a little bit of face here. Not sure if that will work overall, of course, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, what am I expecting from these players? I mean, the previous round, we never really got to see DRG quite get towards those lurkers, right? Already dying before that ever took place. The Zergling Baneling attack onto the siege tanks and the marines, I assume, was already being moved into that position because he didn't want to risk losing too much of his creep. Or allowing Time to set up too aggressively onto his 3rd base. Third command center here for Time. Again, getting made, acquired, produced, constructed, built, established. Any other words I could use there? I don't know. We're close enough. setup. Just trying to come up with more synonyms for this. Anyway, yeah, Time is doing pretty much the exact same thing as he's been doing for quite a while now. The Banshee starts here, I would assume it's going to happen once again. He skipped the Raven after the Banshee the previous game, but this time around it's just going to go straight towards the Raven. Interesting. Maybe it's because he finds this map to be a little bit more difficult for Banshees. Maybe he just likes to mix it up a little bit, right? He's seen that DRG continuously goes for those Spore Crawlers. Consistently has a good defense against the one initial Banshee, so it might be a good idea, in fact, to just kind of let that ball slide, not be too adamant about continuing onwards with the Banshee play here, and just allow him to get himself a Raven instead. Help out with that creep denial. Raven does get scouted, so that's a good call. Be able to see that that is coming along. He's going to double down on the creep spread, it looks like. He's like, alright, well, guess we're going to work over time with the queens here. +1 melee with the carapace coming up for DRG. We'll commit to the heavy ground army here. Zerglings and Banelings, I would assume. So it looks similar to the way he opened up the previous time for the Hydralisk, right? So that is what I am anticipating right now. That we're once again going to see the attempt into the Lurker play here. Off of the back of the earlier upgrades for the Zerglings and the Banelings. Allowing DRG to still kind of play with the Baneling style, but then later on transition into the more stationary play. With those Lurkers, of course. Time creating the 4th and 5th barracks. Getting the double upgrades here as well. Similar to DRG. A little bit quicker for DRG for this match. In comparison to the other moments when we did see Time being the player. Getting that advantage. Already quite a few creep teams here going down. See 12 of them in fact. Ooh, nice transfuse there. Thought that queen was the Gorner, but does stay alive. So yeah, 12 creep tumors in total. 3 Zerglings getting smushed as well, trying to get themselves a bit of scouting action. And still going for the scan. Interesting. Very interesting. Guess he's looking to do harassments with the Raven. I'm not sure. It does get spotted with the Zerglings. Oh well. Peculiar, right? That is peculiar, seeing the Raven kind of ditch the Hellions and then just go on a solo adventure here. Assuming he's under the impression that he doesn't need the help of the Hellions. Maybe the Hellions assumed that they did not need the Raven. Baneling speed not too far removed, but does not seem to be necessary here with the first hold once again being held quite decisively by DRG. Doesn't necessarily mean the end of things just quite yet though, of course, as we saw on that game of Submarine. And the game of Oxide. There we go, gets the Raven, that's a good call. Baneling's getting quite scarily close to all these units. Nice Reaper Nate there, trying to provide a bit of safety there. More Marines come in, and actually Time does double down on this offensive. I thought he would just pick up those Marines as well. Try to get the heck out of there, but a good call from him. We'll be able to obtain some more value, so good, you know, good insights right there into what he should be able to get done there and what else he can accomplish in that situation. It's a scary moment in time when you have those Mutalisk, of course, lurking around as well. If you overstay a welcome, it It's not guaranteed anymore that you will just be able to pick up and leave the area. We just got to be careful for that. Infestation pit on the way. I was wrong, by the way, as well, guys. It is going to be more Mutalisk play. I did mention, of course, that there's Mutas, but I didn't quite say that it's not the Hydralisk, right? Maybe that is going to be a transition later on, but so far it looks like he's gonna commit to the Mutalisk. It is a big map after all, so maybe it's gonna work out better on this one. We do have the speed zones also, which helps out somebody that's trying to play with a mobile army. Trying to make use of quick, nimble movements back and forth. Alright. Both the rooks go down as well. A little bit longer for the Mutalisk, of course. Takes them a while to shoot down a bunch of rooks. It's actually just going to let it be for now. Quite the incredible amount of banelings here. And that third base getting constructed. Being morphed. It is a bit open here after all. There's 2 command centers on the way that are quite the juicy targets. Marines coming in from 2 sides. The banelings. Okay, the Widowmine here, maybe? Okay, no, not quite. Interesting. How many SCVs? Only 5 of them in total being killed this game around, and DRG not really getting a good fight there. I mean, sure, he does get the 2 constructing command centers, and he gets the planetary, but that's about it. He did not trade efficiently against the army of Time, and Time is gonna start pushing his advantage now because of this. DRG is once again maxed out on supply, and this is one of the biggest supply blocks I've ever seen in a professional game. That is absolutely massive. DRG helping him out a little bit here, getting rid of some of the SCVs. More banelings were made, and they are they going to try to get the fight going here? I'm not entirely sure. They may just go across to try and get a counterattack, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're just like, well, screw this. I got more bases than you do. I'll just try to... Oh, don't attack that, Thor. Don't you dare. Alright, good. Always a scary moment when that's about to happen, huh? Banelings, okay, do crash into the Marines, and it looks like Time actually gonna tap out. Not quite having any more what he needed to. It felt still a little bit quick, but I suppose looking at the bases, looking at the supply, Time, you know what? With the lead overall in the scoreboard that he has as well, perfectly fine for him to tap out on Juggernaut, right? That is quite Zerg favored after all. Anyway, so what's up, Natsu? What's up, TYTY? By the way, thank you for the follow, La Tierra Plana. Much appreciated. Hope you like the StarCraft 2 being provided here. How are we all feeling today? Hope we're doing swell. Hope we're doing good. With that being said, we're gonna hop into game number, what is this, 5? It is. Is it? It is. Yeah, it is. Best of 9. Here we go. Alright, finally dropping a match. Here's the Blue Terran from China. Pretty darn strong indeed. Kaisi Gamers. Time. Just because, you know what, it feels unfair to say one person's from China and then not even mention the nationality of the other one. You know, I feel like everyone already knows, but then again, everybody knows Time is from China as well, right? Although he does feel like a Korean. This is the real Korean right here. He's getting trampled so far. Finally getting 1 point into his favor. Still needs 2 more to get it tied up. He's the Red Zerg from Afrika Freaks. One of the old guards. He is DRG. Once again, going for the hatch first. Truly was just a one-off right there with the spawning pool first in game number 1. A worthy effort, right? A valiant attempt at catching your opponent off guard. if you are going to do something like that. I think game number 1 is a good way to do it. Either game number 1 or game number 9. Right, it's in those situations where your opponent is going to be most on edge, most focused on trying to get the macro just as crisp as possible. To then suddenly have to deal with a bunch of Zerglings, you know what, that can be the most destructive and can be the most overall, well, a bit stressful, right? Also, if you do it in the first game, that's going to paint a picture for the rest of this best of 9, right? Continuously, every single game, every single start, time is going to be under the impression, you know what? He could just try to do the spawning pool first here again, right? It could happen. I've seen him do it before. And that is going to cost time to make certain steps, certain scouts that maybe otherwise, if that hadn't happened, he would not do. And that is going to give a small, slight, the tiniest of advantages to DRG perhaps here. Not a lot by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something. It is something. Couple of Zerglings here, already on the prowl. Just gonna go for the scout so far. I mean, he did see there was a Marine on this side of the field. Maybe he's not entirely certain. Actually, maybe he didn't quite pick up on that, of course, but... Or maybe he's anticipating a Reaper afterwards. Who knows? Who knows? When you're fighting against Papa Time, you never know what will happen. Because time and space are the same thing, and we all know that space is infinite, so it's a lot of stuff that can happen in space. Going more heavily on the Marines here initially. I think this is similar to what we see Beyond do, of course. Going for the Marines with the medevac, and then afterwards also having those Hellions poking around in other areas here. Bit of the one-to-punch type of action that will happen with this type of stuff. Which is quite nice to see, really. It does provide a good bit of harassment, a good bit of overall pressure on the Zerg here to stay on his toes, get some creep denied, maybe lose a couple of workers here and there. Some overlords, right? Stuff like this. Just the more pressure you are able to put on the Zerg, the harder it is for them to just drone away nilly-willy. Get the creep everywhere, in every little nook and crevice. Already you can see DRG staying home with all those Zerglings, except for one, of course, scouting out the third base here. Did he lose another Overlord? No, he didn't. I think that was the creep to me he went for. Oh, careful, careful. Again, going with the Raven here, actually. This is... I'm not sure if I've seen that before. Somebody going for the medevac and then into the Raven in TVZ. That is... Huh. That is quite something. I mean, it's still going to provide the same type of support for the Hellions here, right? So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's pretty cool. But is it going to work? Does that delay your overall starport production too much? Where you are able to just kind of get the ball rolling with double medevac production on the reactor and stuff like this, right? Are you just going to fall behind too much on something of that production? Even gonna make another reactor, so delaying that even further. Ah, and the Raven's gone. Alright, well. Ouch. Ouch. That is incredibly rough. So it's not even going to be able to utilize those, well, mules right now as much as he would like to. Because the energy is going to have to be utilized for scanning the creep instead. I guess he could just not do that as well, but never quite works out that way, unfortunately. the viscous creep will just kind of move onwards here. Nice, nice micro there on the Hellions, actually. Bit of friendly fire to clean out with the AoE damage. There you go. Plus 1 melee only being constructed so far for DRG. He does have the money for Carapace as well. There we go. It does start it up. A little bit of a question if he forgot about it or not. But it does not seem to be the case. Grabbing a Spire attack as well. Again, I mean, this is starting to make me a slight bit worried for DRG. If you do go for the double upgrades, the Baning Speed, the Spire, all at the same time, you can spread those resources a bit too thin for these first couple of initial battles. As we can see, still no Baning Speed either. And, well, let's try to contemplate how this is going to work out. Okay, does manage to get rid of one of the Widowmine shots, I suppose. Losing a queen for the price of it, though. And letting the other one be set off with a single circling there. Not too bad. 2 Spore Crawlers here, holding the line. Those medevacs are going to be quite low. One of them already going to go down. Another one just barely manages to survive with the Spore Crawler being taken out. Are there still queens on the top side of things? No, there's not. That would have been a great way to try and intercept this, but it looks like the queens were trying to get themselves towards the main base as well. Now just kind of happily continuing onwards, destroying those rocks. There is still a Terran presence here, but there's not that much it can do anymore. It feels like Banelings should be able to finish this off, and into the medevacs they go. Did we reposition the Spore Crawler? Yes, we did. Mutalisk are here now as well. And that is going to be a nice bit of targeting onto the low HP medevac. Come on. There we go. That's that. That is all she wrote. Another medevac goes down. And maybe one Mutalisk. No target fire there from the Marines. But there's already another bit of Terran presence on this side of the map, that is. Gonna continue forward this time around with 4 Widow Mines as well. And they make it a bit more tricky. They're trying to push this away here for DRG, of course. Does seem like he's much more on top of his Widow Mine control as he was in game number... what was that? Game number 2? Right, bit of reminiscing there of game number 2. Getting a bit nostalgic here. DRG is, it seems like. Let's get rid of them now, but... honestly, that is one of the main faults right now that we are seeing from DRG that you have to point out. Just running a bit carelessly into those Widow Mines. It's a very quick player, but... does seem like he is maybe prioritizing his overall awareness, or how would you put this, his concentration elsewhere. His attention. Can be quite the rough game, of course. Anyway, Infestation Pit has just finished up. That is going to be us getting ourselves a hive tack. That just looks so weird, doesn't it? Oh, God. It's like the new transformation thing on top of the old hatchery. Oh, well, anyway. 2 attacks happening at the same time. Here we go. The Widow Mines. There we are. And they are not getting as much as they would like to. Alright, alright. Acceptable. I mean, it's still better for the Widow Mine to kill off a Mutalisk here than it would be for killing anything else there, to be fair, of a single unit. But still... it's not as horrendous as we saw previously, right? It's nowhere near the 20 Banelings that got shot that first round. More Widow Mines getting cleaned up. Let's take another look at that units lost tab. Yeah, that's looking a lot better already than we saw on Submarine. DRG definitely finding himself quite a bit of a better position in this game so far when he did that previous game. He's got a really solid economy as well, right? 93 workers. Gotta hand it to him. That is pretty impressive. Trying to pick off as many SCVs there as possible. It looks like he will have to continue homewards. He has more than enough. He has more than enough, actually. Can keep continuing to be aggressive with those Mutalisk as well, but does mean that it becomes quite difficult for him to to pick off the medevacs here that are able to just kind of move away from those locations. Time unaware of the circling presence on the bottom right side. May get himself another couple of losses here. Not for free though. We'll be able to pick off quite a bit of the creep tumors. Medevacs too far behind, slacking a little bit there, and the Marines do get punished for that. The other medevac should be picked off as well. There we go. Thought we were getting another drop. Not the case, not the case. 2 Zerglings here. More than 2 Zerglings there. Ooh, Banelings coming in with quite a bit of connection there. Let's take a look. 8 SCVs in total. I guess he did kill off the Widowmines there as well in exchange for those 3 Banelings, but oh well. Oh well. I mean, I've seen so much worse now from DRG versus the Widowmines that I'm like, alright, that's good. That's good enough, DRG. That is absolutely fine. It's still probably beneficial for time to get 3 Banelings and a Interzircling for those Widowmines, but oh well. DRG with a massive attack right here, straight for the 3rd base. 3rd base under a lot of pressure is going to get taken out. The Mutalisk now are going to jump on top of that other command center. It's going to take out a hatchery on the other side as well. Time is so not going out without a fight here. The struggle to afford dominance on Pillars of Gold continues. Ultralisk are out on the map. The Marauder production has already started. We have only 4 Marauders, so we aren't in a position again that we were in on Submarine, where the counter for the Ultralisk were out before the Ultralisk ever even got on the map. Not the case at all. Mutalisk here getting a good scout in the main base. We'll pick off a couple of those reactors, even a couple of Marauders. Marauders extremely important right now, of course, as we've mentioned. Those Ultralisk are on the way. Oh, those Mutalisk now, though, caught out of position here. DRG needs to make a move with the rest of his army to facilitate an exit path for those Mutalisk, and it looks like that is going to be created here. Gotta be careful with all those thoughts in the neighborhood, but DRG, nice collapse onto the army as it is mid-transition. A massive Widowmine shot, though, does keep the Marines safe, and time taps on out of there. DRG will be able to take game number 5 as well. Alright, and just like that, you know what, getting a bit of a comeback going, right? 2 games in a row. DRG suddenly looking pretty on fire against a player that he looked rather hopeless against not too long ago. And that is going to bring us into map number 6 with time. I think time picked Light Shade here. That's usually how these best of 9s go. Light Shade, here we go. Starting to lose his momentum. Well, he already lost his momentum, I suppose, but starting to lose his overall advantage quite rapidly now. Will he be able to pick it up again and continue onwards? Put himself finally on that match point. He is the Kaisi Gamer in the blue. Time. Top left side, we got that red Zerg player fighting for the Afrika Freaks. It is DRG. The Dong Rei Gu. Still, sometimes to me, sounds like something that you can eat, but also like something else, which I wouldn't eat, so. Ha. That's one of the weirdest sentences I've ever put together. Anyway. Still no spawning pool first there for DRG. Again, playing to the safe side here with the macro. Reaper opening for time as well. Looks like we have returned to very standard things. What is this waypoint? Is that the barracks? Alright, apparently he wants the Reaper to attack the minerals and then the hatchery afterwards. Very quick third base here for DRG as well. And perfectly fine still against the Reaper too, so gotta hand it to him for that one. Well done indeed. Time on the other side. Once more, gonna commit to the Hellions, the standard of standard. Nothing crazy going on for him. Has been working out most of the time so far anyway, right? So unless if he loses this one and it works out 50-50. Alright. Now on this map, are we expecting Mutalisk? Are we expecting Hydralisk? I think that's the main question here for this game at the moment. Right, must be the main question for Time as well. Well, it's going through his own minds here. Are you planning to hit me up with those Mutalisk? Are you planning to hit me up with those Hydralisk? Now, so far in this entire series, we've not seen DRG a single time go for the Roaches, which is another opening we see now and again from those Zerg players, of course. Mostly, though, Dark. We've seen Rogue do it on this channel at least, and it has been picking up some overall popularity amongst other Zergs as well. And it does seem to be a nice stable way to get yourself into that lurker kind of technology, right? It's a good way to deal with those Hellions. It's a fairly good way to deal with the early on marine pressure. And it's a good way to deal with Widow Mines. That is 100% guaranteed. Oh, this is a very interesting build that we're seeing from Time as well. He's got himself an early armory. He's going to try to make use of that by sending in these Widow Mines here. Gonna attempt a bit of harassment overall. As we do have Spore Crawlers on the way, so hopefully for DRG, yeah, that should finish up here straight after the first initial shots of these Widow Mines. Let's see if the Widow Mines not getting in there undetected. Alright, you know what, that's an alright situation. A bit too quick with sending in that other drone as well. Oh boy. Gets a couple of larvae, I suppose, right? Not bad. More Hellions. Oh my god, that is abysmal. Oh, that is so much damage right there. 18 workers. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, DRG. DRG pressing on this mineral patch instead of this mineral patch, and that is costing him so many workers right there. Oh my god. Oh, those Hellions, that was brutal there. Time really putting the multitasking up to maximum right there. Dropping Widow Mines on 3 bases and then moving in with the Hellions at the same time. Very cool stuff from our Chinese player. And DRG, he is hurting right now. He's still got a fairly okay looking worker count, to be fair, but having lost 19 workers here, that is a rough patch of damage. DRG aware of that Liberator, so that's a nice thing, of course. We'll not just blindly send a drone that way. Hopefully. Hopefully. Getting the queens involved. There we are. Good stuff. Another medevac, though, as well, coming in with more of those gosh darn widow mines. Overlord is ready to spot this, but do we have the forces that we need to defend against this as well? 3, actually make that 4 queens on the 3rd base, circling in the main. And that is a quick kill onto the medevac, but still quite a couple of drones do go down. That is 27 now. I believe we had, like, what, 18 before? So that is still somehow 9 extra kills. I don't think that was 9 extra kills, honestly, but man, it's still a significant amount, though, nonetheless. Another Widowmine drop here will commit. Drilling class has been researched now as well. More units go down. 31 this time around. It's like there's just more drones being slain somewhere else. It's almost as if DRG is sending them in at some point in time, but apparently, yeah, these Widowmine attacks are actually getting this amount of workers right now. It's always hard to see without the game hearts. More workers right there go down. It makes us 35 kills so far, and this is starting to get quite painful to watch, really. Starting to get quite painful to watch. DRG, of course, he really would like to win this game, tie up the series, not lose that momentum that he was building up in those previous 2 games. But it looks like the momentum in full favor for Time right now, at least so far. It's already established that 4th base. Right now, we do not see the 5th base for DRG just quite on the way. Too much of a hassle dealing with these widow mines. Again, a nice shot right there. Good connection. 5 more workers go down. The widow mines here getting only a single Mutalisk, but still, that does seem to be sufficient, considering the amount of damage that the other widow mine is doing here as well. Liberator now gonna set up shop also. How many drones does one base need, really? Well, as many as time can kill, it seems. The hatchery goes down. Guys, I'm not sure if we're going to see this game go on for a very much longer. This is truly quite the reckoning. DRG just getting absolutely pummeled right now. Not having much of a shot at the, well, fighting back against his opponents here. Trying to find those widow mines, still getting shot quite a bit as he's trying to clean them up. Enough Marines here as well to just quickly jump underneath those Mutalisk if they don't pay enough attention. While there is another attack already coming in as well here for Time. Both these flanks do seem to be a bit too much for DRG to handle, actually. With the 93 army supply for Time and 75 only here for DRG, it does look rather dire for the Red Zerg. Banelings need to get good connections. They definitely do get great connections. But on the top side, a base does get destroyed. Let me see actually if that got fully killed off. No, it didn't. It did get cancelled, I suppose. That's already a victory here, of course, for Time. Surprised that he actually does hold both these locations as well as he did, though. Those Baneling connections being absolutely crucial on the bottom side there in order to facilitate himself a bit more of an opportunity here. Otherwise, I'm fairly comfortable in saying that would have been it. Nice micro with the medevac and the Thor. Mutalisk struggling to make a pathway towards the SCV line. Struggling to find a way to get their own damage dealt across the board here, but I mean, he is just completely stuck on his own side. Continuously. Time really being allowed to do every bit of harassment that he wants to. More Mutalisks getting shot down by the Widow Mines as well. Over and over again, just taking those nasty shots, those nasty connections. DRG just playing with fire. That Ling Bane Mutalisk army composition is just so incredibly fragile. against what Time is doing here. Do we already have the infestation pit? Yeah, we do. Also the hive, but no Ultralisk Cavern just quite yet. Ah, there it is. Alright, yeah, I was wondering how far along we were. Because it looks like we will be having Time also starting up the counter for the Ultralisk here. Already planning ahead, I would imagine. He's got 4 barracks with tech labs right now. Should be able to produce plenty of Marauders in order to get himself a good spot against those Ultras. DRG luckily paying attention there, not losing a ton of units to the single Widowmine there. Or letting a ton of the Banelings run into the Thor. But even with that going into his favor, I suppose this is still a very, very tough position. Needs to get those drones back to work, but he's just preoccupied. Time putting so much pressure on him on all these locations. A great Widowmine shot there. Once again, 13 circlings just like that in the blink of an eye. Getting absolutely pummeled, devastated. And yeah, the Mutalisk are going to have a rough time engaging this as well. We need to see the Widowmines getting shot, but there is a great Unburrow there. They are right now. Maybe this attack will once again get pushed backwards, but I'm not sure if it will have been a saving grace kind of defense here for DRG. DRG still struggling, 50 for army supply versus 91. There is just one big line of Terran coming across. We don't have the money for DRG anymore to invest into those Ultralisk, and that's going to be a GG is called. Time regains the momentum, regains the deeper lead that he had acquired earlier in this series as well with the 2 points, and sets himself up on match point. We're going to go into game number 7 between these two. Game number 7, DRG. 3 games required to win right now against his opponent. Could be rather rough. Let's hop on into it and see what happens. Alright, 4 points so far for this Blue Terran powerhouse from China. The Kaizi player, he is Time. Bottom right side, we got the red Zerg. He is the Freak of Freaks, DRG. Once more going for the macro, once more going for the hatchery first. Gotta wonder what went through his mind. That game number 1, why he started off with the spawning pool first. It did seem like he was quite uncomfortable as well with the Zerglings, right? He was like, oh, well, I guess USCV scouted me. I'm gonna keep my Zerglings at home. That's it, that's all I'm gonna do with this. Perfectly fine. Alright. Tough luck. Oh well. DRG mostly has been a macro Zerg anyway, right? A very, very aggressive macro Zerg to be sure, but I mean, we've never seen him commit everything into those big, massive all-ins. Like someone such as Dark would do still, right? He would actually commit to an all-in quite rapidly, just straight off the bat. He will just make a ton of roaches, something like this, and go for it, right? That's something that DRG just doesn't quite as often do. Very, very, very rarely, but I have a rough time remembering the last time I've seen him do something like that. Okay, are we gonna get a third base from Time here? Another pinnacle question, of course. He is gathering up the minerals, but no, it does prioritize the starports. Gonna get himself the the aggressive opening here once again. Let's see if we get a Banshee or a Raven with this. I mean, the Raven, I really like the idea of the Raven being with the Hellions. I think it's a great tool to have, but it just hasn't been controlled to the fullest extent, I suppose, right? And maybe that is a case to make against the Raven opening, that it just takes too much babysitting together with the Hellions in order to make it worth it. I mean, is that a good point to make? It could be, right? It definitely could be. Oh, that is a fusion core. Alright. Fusion core. So, no Raven, I suppose. No Banshee. It will be a bit worse than that. To be fair, DRG consistently has been making a good amount of Queens. Has been making those Spore Crawlers. So, overall, I think I would assume he wouldn't take too much damage from this. But maybe in combination with those Hellions, Time can find himself a unsecured drone line and still make this quite the painful happening for our Red Zerg. Well, it does explode. The first balloon was popped today. First blood has been made. Inside Zerg infestation, of course. Being a hive mind, does feel the pain of that overlord. Day of sorrow. Alright, the Hellions already here with the with a bit of a grand. I suppose I like that in a way, right? I mean, it does make it look more normal. It's like, alright, yeah, I'm not waiting for anything else here. I'm just doing whatever the Hellions do continuously. Don't mind me. Doesn't quite get the kills there on the creep tumors, but this is the main attraction, of course. Zap straight into the main base. The Spore Crawlers are not ready just quite yet, so this could be quite humongous. The drones mid-transition now. The Battlecruiser actually attacking the Queen for quite a while. So that's quite a couple of drone kills that he could have had, not quite being acquired. More and more drones gonna get pummeled. Needs to keep the targeting going there. Good surround of the Zerglings on top of the Hellions, but the Hellions find themselves a great position as well. Stuck between the wall and the extractor, getting a great trade overall against those Zerglings, and now the Hellions on top of the drones even further. 12 of them already have gone down, and 13th as well gonna get picked off. That is not too shabby for the Blue Terran. I would say that is a pretty reasonable trade. That is a pretty reasonable bit of damage. Is it enough? I think it is, since he still has that Battlecruiser. Doesn't have the Hellions anymore, so maybe the Zerglings this time will be able to find some damage of their own across the map here. It's not that much available. It's only 10 Marines and a single siege tank versus the 24 Zerglings. Yeah, that should be enough. That should be enough. Considering the wall of potential here for time as well, could just put the Marines next to the siege tank there and close it off with this supply depot being raised. So DRG wisely backs up. Battlecruiser getting repaired. We're just seeing a single Battlecruiser actually. That is on its own already kind of funky, right? Kind of funky to see just a single Battlecruiser, just one, not two, not three. Right, 3 is already the conservative amount of Battlecruisers someone would get. Nothing of the sorts, just the first initial Battlecruiser and then straight into the bio mech play once again. Well, not mech, sorry, the bio siege tank is what I wanted to say. I almost said it, but then I said mech instead. Close enough. And, wow, okay, the Hydra infestation pit style coming out here. Interesting. Thought if we ever gonna see a Spire play coming out for DRG, maybe this would be it, with the Battlecruiser opening, of course, still on his mind. But, no, not gonna happen here. Has to cancel almost Banelings that are in production. Does he have any Banelings now available at all? I don't think he does. I don't think he does at all. He's no longer going to have any energy for the transfuse either. Or at least not that much. The Zerglings and the Queen still manage to hold supreme. We'll be able to hold the front door, get the Battlecruiser as well. Just barely, come on! Oh, don't quite manage to do so. A bit of creep there missing in order for all of them to chase, I suppose, but... oh well. Now DRG will have some breathing room after holding that off without taking more drone damage. That's the important bit, right? Didn't lose another base off of the back of that second attack. Didn't lose an enormous amount of drones, nor that many of his overall attacking units either, right? The 4 queens, maybe a bit of a painful thing. But other than that, not too much was lost. If he holds that on for a little bit longer, he may have a good opportunity to set himself up for a pretty alright kind of lurk attack here. Kind of a nice lurker army to be utilized. Still siege tanks here in production full time. More and more barracks under construction as well. I would assume that is going to be with tech labs right here. Curious to see if Time also likes to go for the ghosts versus the lurkers. Or if he's going to try to prioritize with the marauders, just kind of as the tanking force against those nasty lurkers here. Bit of both could also be the case, of course. Medevac still being utilized as we do not have those Mutalisk, of course. Trying to take every bit of advantage here that he can. Time is. Adrenal glands on the way. That's always good to see. We have +2/+2 already available as well, by the way, for DRG. I didn't notice that just quite yet. There does seem to be quite a bit of a gap here before Time will be tied up in those upgrades. If we do see +3/+3 also starting here momentarily for DRG, then that could be absolutely massive. And then again, to be fair, you may want to consider starting up the ranged attack upgrades here instead. I think that is quite the important one to get at this moment in time. There we go. That is what he's going to go for. We'll still have the Carib base, actually. Oh no, he's got 3 Evo chambers now. Okay, lovely. Lovely. Ooh, Battlecruiser getting more kills here. 2 more drone kills, just like that. So we're getting closer and closer to the lurker attack. It's a big wall right here. Of course, Time being from China should know his walls. It would be almost poetic if DRG was actually from Mongolia, but I don't think they play a lot of StarCraft 2 over there. Alright, and here we are. There are the Hydralisk. We don't quite have any Lurkers yet available. He never made the Lurker Den, did he? He never made a Lurker Den. He's going pure Ling Bane Hydralisk, and he's adding in an Ultralisk Cavern. Curious. Very curious. I suppose it works well against siege tanks, right? I mean, even right now, those Vipers doing quite a number onto those siege tanks. But he's not quite going to be able to get the base killed off here. It does kill 16 workers, which is nice. Time having a bit of trouble getting that economy as cleanly going as he would like to. And DRG does seem to be free roaming quite nicely on his own side of the map. Quite a couple of bases here now being established by him. Should consider starting to take this one as well, maybe. Now that the option is there, he's almost maxed out. Doesn't need to spend his money quite as rapidly elsewhere right now. Right, taking those corner bases. Those are some of the more crucial things in a long, heavy macro game. Those corner bases always going to be points of contention. And if the Zerg does not want to go for the very cost-efficient kind of army with the Lurkers, then you're going to have to try and get yourself that other type of army set up. But to be fair, I mean, he's playing Baneling here versus siege tanks, which is actually kind of working out for him, right? There's no Widow Mines here. because Time is anticipating the lurker change. Oh, those Baneling connections pretty darn tasty. But DRG still gonna have to back up overall. Doesn't quite have the punching force there to break on through past along the siege tanks. Does have the Vipers now with full energy, but again, not gonna commit to that location. Bale for flanking, forced after Zerglings, and the Banelings getting revealed by the sensor tower. Will be moving elsewhere also. There we go, that is the corner base being taken. There's the first Ultralist car we get to see in full view. Space, not that many SCVs just quite yet there. But just getting rid of those siege tanks here would be a nice thing, of course, as well. Let's take a look. There is the Blinding Clouds. Getting rid of the potential of those siege tanks there a little bit. Does get rid of the Planetary Fortress also. Careful of those other ghosts still coming in. Nice snipes there. Not even sniping the Ultralist. Will snipe as much of this army as possible. Very good micro there from Time. DRG coming in with another bit of offensive here. A couple of Zerglings rolling on through. So has to be wary though. That is a scary amount of Terran. He's just waiting on him. That could still burst his bubble. Another base quickly flying over. I think that's the main base? No, actually. Oh no, he just had another orbital laying around. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, he did target down the sensor tower here, right? With those Banelings. Time so far not quite been able to set up a new one. And this could come to cost him, as DRG already here assembling his forces in that area. It is going to be completed pretty soon, so he will have that heads up once again. But DRG still may be able to get himself a little bit closer before that area is closed off. But, oh, wow, Time, it looks like he's already anticipated this. He's got himself a really good amount of those ghosts here. Let's see if that will be enough, though. Banelings and Zerglings, not the best enemy for the ghost to fight. More Widowmine shots actually also coming in. Looks like we have got ourselves more of the Widowmine being incorporated right now for this army. Banelings finding the entrance into the main base. Just going to go for that reactor. The reactor will burn down. A couple more SCVs also getting picked off. 53 workers in total now have been killed. Time is struggling, actually. He's losing bases here. He's not been able to do anything across the map anymore. Quite a long while. He is training super efficiently, though. That is definitely something to keep in mind. As Time, his army has not taken that many hits. It's just mainly been his economy. DRG still... I suppose he is on 3 extra bases here in total. So that should be enough, right? That should be enough. As long as he keeps denying these bases. As long as he doesn't lose too much of his army in one go. And allows Time to just get a big counterattack going. And he should be just good overall. Very surprised with DRG still not incorporating some lurkers into this army. Just really does not seem to be his type of style. Just not his type of sandwich that he enjoys, I suppose. I'm gonna start knocking down as many rocks as possible here as well, it seems. Time, of course, really enjoys those restrictive areas. Make it more difficult for the melee force of the Zerg to just kind of push on in here. 30 more Banelings being constructed. As Time mostly prioritizing the bottom left side here. Still going to be able to have those all those ghosts available for the attack. Let's see. Oh, good snipes on the Vipers. They do not get a single spell off. That's another planetary fortress that does go down. It's not as important as the bottom left side now, of course. That is a fresh new base available for Time. We'll be able to continue on with the mining there. And see, spending-wise, economy, definitely quite a bit more money there being spent for Time tech as well. But that army, whew, That's a scary amount of money just being dumped into the Zerg military forces. Will it be enough? Here we go, another fight. I mean, if Time loses this base as well, I think that could very well be it. There is a Widow Mine, however, there, and that's the arch nemesis of DRG, as we all know now. So he will try to avoid that area by all costs necessary. Or is he? Or is he? Making it difficult for Time here to assess the situation, to see where this Zerg army is coming from. It's not that much available here right now. He's sending in more units towards the top. That is just Zerglings. So those Ghosts and those Marines moving in across that side, actually. Could have very well been used on this army right here. Ultralisk tanking the Widowmine shot as well, so that's not the saving grace. This base here, the Banelings are rolling in. DRG prioritizing the fight with the army, though. Is going to try to roll in the Banelings into the Ghosts. And this planetary fortress, we've said it, it's a very important base. It looks like it will not go down in the Hydras, actually. Instead of just sacrificing themselves to try and get as much damage onto the SCVs as possible. Rotating back and taking another big blow to that cost efficiency here that we were talking about a couple of times now. DRG starting to take bases that, well, kind of belong to Time here. Originally should belong to Time. Oh, the 11 message. Yeah, thank you. That is still there, isn't it? Thank you. Alright, so. Here we go. Time. He's actually on match point. Surprise, everybody. Surprise. Alright, where are we? Is he remaking the fusion? Is he making another fusion? He is. Alright, didn't get destroyed. Just a little bit out of whack here, of course, as he's like, alright, starting Liberators. We need Liberator range. Let's get a fusion core here, forgetting that he actually started this game with the Battlecruiser opening. Which is quite easy to do, honestly, because normally you would go into Mac with this. Just playing the regular Marine siege tank type of composition. I love the fact as well that he did still manage to get those, did still transition into the Widow Mines here. It's a little bit late in my opinion overall, but it's better late than never, of course. Only has 4 of them, but he's making more. Alright, another fight here on the horizon, perhaps. DRG realizing, wait a moment, there's still rocks here. That is not part of the plan. Let's get rid of those first and foremost. Needs to be careful though. This is a scary Terran army. And their bases are extremely close together. If DRG does push in here, it is just the shortest of walks for Time to get himself onto 2 Zerg bases that are still left with quite a bit of mining to do. Well, anyway, we will have the Zerg committing to this location right now. There is some blinding clouds and abducts going down, but I'm not sure. Will it be enough? Those Ghosts still on the back side of things. The Widowmine's getting all right connections. And the Terran still stands. Some Zerglings going for the counterattack here in the natural base. But the counterattack for the Terran now is the one thing I'm worried about a bit more so at this moment in time. Ooh. Okay, good. Widowmine there once again. Does not look like Time managed to really push himself forward there. The reinforcements for DRG still too quick. And now is going to start pushing in here. This is actually quite a disturbing look for Time. Could very well lose that base right now. That very, very crucial base to maintain. If he does lose this one, I'm not sure what his chances will look like to actually take this game here. Oh my god. Okay, it does go down. DRG losing a lot of his resources though, of course, here. Army-wise, in order to get that settled. Nukes are coming in as well. Another step here for the forwarding the Terran potential. And the Terran counterattack is off the grounds right now. Will start pushing in here. Go tit for tat on the bases killed count. Gonna try to acquire bases here as well, but that is already in fully kind of claimed by the creep. Terran army once again getting pummeled though, getting absolutely smashed into the ground. Losing those medevacts there as well. It's a big nuke potential here. Let's try and jump back to see something else here for a moment. Where is that ghost? That's gonna hit. That's a lot of drones right there. How many? Ooh, from 16 to 29. 13 extra workers go down. DRG, I mean, after losing a base and losing those workers, was that a bit too much? Doesn't have that much mining going on anymore, right? He is starting to run dry. He's lost so much extra money. Look at that. Ridiculous. So he still has this base mining. And he has this base mining. That basically has put him back on 2 base mining and time. I mean, alright, these bases, they are almost mined out, but that's still something. And then he has this base right here, which is also actually not that much remaining there. Surprised that he is putting in this much effort to try and get this base. Instead of one on the top side, right? Just securing this area would allow you to grab those 2 bases instead. Perhaps just a bit of an easier time overall. Anyway, in we go again. Is this a wise choice by DRG? It is just the Banelings, Hydralisks, and Zerglings. I don't think he's getting anything done here. The Liberators, my god, just blasting away at those Banelings that are trying to come in here. And now, with the army supply quite heavily in favor for time, will this be his moment? Gonna take out another base. Great Widow Mines shots once again. We don't have any overseers either. He's manually detonating the Banelings to try and get rid of those ghosts, which is quite cool as well. But still, a little bit precarious here. Still a little bit dangerous. A single Liberator on this base is going to make a living hell of one of the 2 remaining mining bases here of DRG. Actually make that one of the 3... actually 4 now, isn't it? Yeah, he's got 4 mining bases again. He's got 4 mining bases again, actually. Hold up the phone. Just needs to be a little bit careful. Oh, what? Excuse me? Did that one... Excuse me? Did he actually get 32 kills with that one single Widowmine shot? Wow. DRG, I mean, if there's one thing he needs to take away from this series, that is gonna be it. Stop running in Zerglings and Banelings into the Widowmines carelessly. It is definitely costing him quite a bit here. His base under a lot of pressure though will be just kind of disregarded here for time. Time is starting to claim these areas over here. DRG putting in effort into putting resources, really, we should say this, right? And into taking out a planetary fortress, but planetary fortress there not really doing much of anything anymore. Maybe a place where time can try to push out from into these 2 unclaimed bases, but other than that, not really much being obtained there for DRG, I would say. Bit surprised that he still invested that much into getting rid of a planetary like that, when he himself is kind of starting to struggle here, right? We can see he's no longer continuously maxed. His bank is gone. He's got some mining going on, but overall, the income, we don't quite have the income graph, but we do have the income screen, I suppose. Just the overall amount of income going in here. It's not that far apart, honestly, considering that DRG lost almost 20k minerals more than his opponents here, right? That is quite a stark difference. Especially considering that time managed to wrestle control away from this one base here. Now into his own hands. DRG I think that, again here, going for a base. Oh, that's another big Widowmine hit there, wasn't it? Jeez Louise. Gonna commit it for the attack. Does get rid of this base, I suppose. But once more, investing a lot of resources into getting rid of a planetary without much there. I mean, what is still left remaining there? I don't think it's that much. He's gonna lose his army here. He may lose the war, in fact, because his army is now stuck in this bottom left side. And that is enough for him to call it a game. GG is called, and time takes game number 6.